We're on with
All right.
the next episode of Ministry Wisdom with Pastor Alex Fallin, pastor of the First Apostolic Church of Cleveland, Tennessee. Uh, I want to thank you, Brother Fallin, for joining us. Is there anything you would like to say before we get started?
Well, I'd just like to say praise the Lord and greet everyone. And thank you, Brother Fig, for the opportunity. We're been looking forward to it ever since you talked to me. And the name of your program is Ministry Wisdom. I don't know how much I can offer, but we're just excited to see what God's doing in the kingdom, to be a part.
Amen. In your own words, do you care to tell your testimony of how you got to where you're at now?
Well, just for the sake of brevity, I had always grew up in an apostolic church, apostolic home, and when I was 13, I got filled with the Holy Ghost and baptized in Jesus' name, and started preaching not long after that. And I never really felt like I was called to be a pastor, but I felt and definitely knew that God had called me to preach, and I just always had a desire to work in the kingdom. I never wanted to go to a church where I just sit on a pew, but I just wanted to be involved and work. And so I had several different opportunities. I was a youth pastor for a while, and then I was an interim pastor at a church. But again, never thinking or suspecting that it would be a full-time thing or be what God was calling me to. And we went to church and married Brother Carpenter's church, and we had not been going there very long. And Brother Erickson started talking to me and speaking some things into my life and about what he saw God doing in our lives. And at the time, honestly, I felt like he was crazy. I thought this guy's he's missing it, because it's not me. But God really began to deal with mine and my wife's heart about our city, and we found out later on that God had put a burden on our pastor's heart for our city before we ever started going to church in Maryville. And it was just something that only God could orchestrate, that the experiences that we had gone through in my time as a youth pastor and an interim pastor, and things that we had been through in life, just were preparing us for a door that only God could open. And we were praying about it and really felt that burden for souls, and we started teaching Bible studies. And actually, Sister Carpenter, she asked us, did we know anyone that would like to have a home Bible study? And we talked about it, and we took her a list of 24 names. And that was when I figured out that she was thinking maybe one or two people, because she was shocked that we had that many people interested. So her and Brother Carpenter came, and they taught the first lesson. We had 14 people that night. And then over time, Brother Carpenter came, and Brother Erickson started coming, and then Brother Erickson, he kind of took over, and I started helping him, and then I started teaching full-time, and they didn't come very often. And over the next couple of years, we taught 60 people search for truth. Some of that was one-on-one, some of that was in groups. We met in our public library because we didn't have room in our house. And so it was just very evident that with the church being an hour and a half away, that there needed to be an apostolic church in our city, and that the field was ripe with harvest. So we began to pray for God to open the door. And there were several times that we thought the door was going to be opened, and it wasn't. But it all worked out in God's timing, and we're so thankful for it, and for our pastors believing in us and investing in us, and just really how God worked it all out and ordained it. It was very clear to us that God had called us. And I think a lot of people, they think that they have to do a work for God in a foreign place, in a foreign country or a foreign state, or move to another city. But I really encourage people to work where they are. When we look in the Bible, men were called, and young men and young women are called where they were, and to work where they were. You look at Elisha, he was plowing the field, and from everything I can tell, that was his daddy's field or his field. He was just in his home, just working. And David, he was tending his father's sheep. So just working where you are, I think, is a big thing, and I think that God honors that. And I would say that's the single thing we did right was we were just willing to work wherever, and God blessed that.
Amen. As a pastor now, you started right. It, it, has it been a year, or when?
No, sir. It's 6 months. We're coming right up on our 6-month anniversary. We started January the 6th with our very first service. We knew coming out of Maryville that when we started talking about this, I guess just for the sake of history, I'll tell you. But when we started talking about this, the plan was that we would be a campus church of the church in Maryville. That Brother Carpenter, Brother Erickson would come down and get the church started, and then sometime down the road we would take the church, take the campus. But with them taking the church in Sevierville, that which worked to their advantage, we learned so much from that opportunity and being involved and being able to help, and they learned a lot. They just physically figured out that I think that they could be in 3 places at one time. They couldn't be in Maryville and Sevierville and Cleveland. Again, Cleveland's an hour and a half away from Maryville. So Brother Carpenter began to talk to us about what we would think about being autonomous or being a standalone church. And we definitely are a product of the church in Maryville, but we're autonomous. So we wanted to wait until they were done with the building program, because we knew that people from there would be integral in helping us, and we didn't want there to be too much of a burden. And a lot of people in their zeal, I think, expect things to happen quickly, and sometimes logic is overlooked, and we have to be logical and really think through things and tactful in our efforts. And we know that there's only so many people and so much time and so much money to go around, and those are resources that are instrumental in starting a church. And so if we wanted involvement from our home church, we were going to have to wait until some of that was freed up. And we know they would have killed themselves to try to help us, but we wanted to wait until a time, and our pastor told us, he asked us if we would wait until a time that they could complete this project in Maryville. So once the miracle was completed, then we started working on the Cleveland miracle. And so our first service was this past January, so we're coming up on 6 months.
Well, praise God. In your time as starting as being a pastor, what have you found to be the most difficult challenge that you have faced, and how have you faced that challenge?
Probably one of the hardest things, and I would say this has been something that has been difficult for my wife and I both. And one thing I want to say too, anyone who's ever going to be a church planner or is currently planning a church, you got to be half crazy to do it by yourself. Just God intended, and God made Eve to be a helpmate to Adam. And so I would strongly encourage you, and any young man or young person, that if they are thinking or feeling God calling them to plant a church, that they make sure that their spouse, obviously their wife, is 100% on board. I wasn't willing to move until my wife told me 100%, because you can do it, but it's going to be really hard. So I will answer that by saying, for us, I think one of the hardest things has been not knowing what we don't know. And that might sound like a flippant answer, but we all have preconceived notions, and we have ideas about the way things work and what we would do. If I was a pastor, I would do this. But sometimes not knowing what you don't know. When we started the church, we didn't know how important it would be to have a tax ID number. That doesn't seem like a big deal until you start making purchases for a church, and you're paying 10 or 11% on everything you buy, and you're watching dollars that you know you don't really have to spend because you're paying sales tax. So just little things like that you don't know what you don't know. And so I would encourage anyone, again, that's looking to start a church or in the early years to find someone who is relatively new. There are great men of God who started churches 50 years ago. But some of that stuff with time kind of gets blurred from your memory. And so I would say talk to a broad spectrum of people. When I started the church in Cleveland, I talked to men who started churches 50 years ago, talked to men who started churches 15 years ago, talked to men who had just started a church or were fixing to start a church, because we need all those perspectives. So that I would say that really is was a challenge for both of us, was not knowing what we didn't know. We were never ashamed to try to learn or to do. We read books, and we've been to conferences, and we've done everything we could, but we've run into things that we didn't know that we would need to know, or we would need to be able to do. So does that answer your question?
It does. It
Okay.
does. As a home missions work, it could be. It's. I'm rewording this next question. As a home missions work, goals can constantly change, and objectives can come up that you didn't see. But right now, as your home missions, as your work that you've started, what are your goals that you've set forward? Uh, I'll even put a time limit on it. In the next year, in the next 2 years.
Okay. Well, when we got ready to start the church, there are a couple of different programs within the Assembly of the Lord Jesus Christ. Again, and I know that most of this people that would be listening to this are going to gain any benefit from this, or people that would be looking to start a church or are again in the early process. But there are several great programs within the ALJC that I definitely would urge anyone to take advantage of. But one of the things that we're on the Adopted City status, and our Adopted City program, one of the things that we had to do for that was write a mission statement. And I think that is a really, really wise thing for anyone. And I think it's something, that's not something I've always done personally in my own life. And I think it's something that churches should do. And I think it's something that, just like you said, has to be continually reevaluated. But we knew from the beginning, before this ever started, that lost souls, that the discipleship of lost souls was going to be a number one priority. And I'm not trying to be have a high-minded thing, but we knew that was going to be our goal, that we were going to do everything we could to introduce the gospel to people, and then train those people to train other people, because really that's what discipleship is all about, is people self-replicating. So for us, that's a really big thing. So I try to balance my time preaching and teaching between, not every service is going to be is going to end with tongues and interpretation or the Holy Ghost falling. There's sometimes, even in this early church work, that they leave, and I know that when the service ends, that there's not going to be a big move, that people are not going to feel the Holy Ghost a lot. But I want them to go home and think about, am I doing enough to see that my lost coworker is saved? Am I doing enough to see that my lost family member is saved? So teaching them and training them is definitely for us a huge goal. And then outside of that, maybe more tangible or maybe more earthly goals for us is we are currently we have a Sunday service at 2 o'clock and a midweek service on Thursday evening, and we have church on Sunday in a local hotel ballroom, and it's been very good. But we are looking by the time our second, or I guess the end of our first full year, we want to move to having a building. And for us, I think it's still going to be a building that we share with someone else, because this is something, again, I would encourage anyone. Don't tie the work of God up. Don't get it financially strapped from the get-go. Live beneath your means. and I'll be very honest and very transparent. We pay around $400 a month for this room we use in this hotel. Now it's just a single room. It doesn't have any Sunday school rooms or anything like that, and we work around that. But we pay about $400 a month. If we were to go and get a very modest storefront in our town, that our monthly lease would be 10 times that. So I would encourage anyone, if at all possible, live beneath your means. Don't get in a position where the church can't do anything but pay the mortgage or pay the lease, because you're going to want to be able to invest in the kingdom of God. You're going to want to be able to be a blessing to other people and to other churches. You're going to want to be able to buy things you need to buy, and you don't want to be in a position where every single dollar is tied up. So because of that, that's the reason we made the decision that we made, and so we look for, at the close of our first year, to transition into a larger building with more Sunday school space and a little bit more stable, something a little bit more that we can claim as our own. But definitely we expect that just from the way our growth and the way that our growth has gone, that we will share a building for a little while, because our intention is that when we go to buy a building or build a building, whatever, that we would do it debt-free. And that's something that our pastor just has instilled in us. And I think that I've already seen the benefits, and I think it's definitely something we want to do. So does that answer what you're asking? Maybe
it does.
The spiritual side and the more carnal side, I guess.
It does.
Okay.
Hey, I want to ask. I already know one of these, an answer to one, but I'll have you say it. Who are the two people that have impacted your life the most?
This is maybe one of the hardest questions for me to answer. I absolutely, hands down, there are so many men who have impacted my life. I watch preachers on YouTube and, all the Apostolic or Pentecostal greats. And there's so many men that their preaching and their lives have impacted me. And pastors, I've been under a lot of great men. And I have a pastor, the one that gave me the first opportunity to preach. I haven't been in his church in nearly 15 years. And he still calls me, once a month and lets me know that I'm praying for you. And so those men that marked my life and made an impact on my life definitely shaped who I am today. But to maybe narrow that down, my pastors, I have absolutely the greatest pastors, and I say that plural. Brother Carpenter definitely is my pastor, absolutely beyond a shadow of a doubt. But Brother Erickson also, they believed in me, and they believed in my wife and my family, and their wives. I would be remiss to negate the value of the voice of my pastor's wives, because they have brought balance to my life. They've helped my wife, and every home has a good father and a good mother, and I believe every church does. And so my pastors and their wives have been just a tremendous blessing in my life, and invested in us and loved us, and I'm thankful that they never were afraid to ask us to do anything. They never treated us like outsiders, even though we lived an hour and a half away, and they always treated us like their kids. They always made us feel like, and they continue to make us feel like their kids. And I have no doubt that if Sister Carpenter thought that my hair was too long to preach, she'd tell me just like she told Nolan, no haircut, no preach. And because she knows that I value their voice, and so I appreciate them. And the other person, if I had to single one out, is my wife. My wife has been a tremendous blessing and been an encouragement, and the fact that she believes in me and she's supportive in me, and she's willing to put herself in positions that I know are outside of her comfort zone, I think are very, very, very admirable. And that, if you got your wife by your side, then you can about take on anything. So my pastors, I know they're more than one, but I put them in as one, and my wife is the other.
Brother, what What does you mentioned the people that are above you, but what does that submission to that spiritual authority look like to you?
Well, I think submission to authority is definitely a spiritual concept, and I think it's something that bears it in the spirit. Um, when we look at biblical examples of that and of submission, I think of people uh, like Joseph. How he was submitted to Potiphar, and he didn't have to be. He could have really bucked him. But then you look even deeper into more of the spiritual sense, and you have people like Paul, the relationship between Paul and Timothy. And so, as a pastor, for me, something that I look for is is a is the Holy Ghost. If the constant conversation out of them is bragging about, nobody can make me do this, and I can't, they ain't nobody gonna make me do that, then I don't think they're submitted to the authority. What does someone talk about our police officers and our military, our government? If they never have anything good to say about them, if it's always derogatory and it's always in mockery, then I have a real hard time believing that they're submitted to authority. If they're not submitted to worldly authority, I don't think they're going to be submitted to godly authority. I think those two go hand in hand. And so what that, I guess, to go back and answer your question, what that looks like to me is someone that has a teachable spirit and someone that loves to serve. Um, it doesn't matter where you are in the kingdom of God, you're going to have to serve somebody. You're called to serve somebody. And really that servant's heart and the teachable spirit, and then again just the bearing witness in the Holy Ghost. I think we have to trust. As many as are led of the Spirit, they should be called the sons of God. I think we have to trust and be sensitive to the Holy Ghost to really see that and to really confirm that. But if someone isn't teachable, if they don't listen to instruction and listen to counsel, then I don't really feel like they're submitted. The people that drive me crazy are the ones that want to tell you all their problems, but they don't want to listen to any of your solutions. So submission to spiritual authority, I think, really hinges on kind of that teachable spirit and a spirit of servanthood. If I disagree with you, I'm still going to be submitted to you, because I really believe that submission begins where agreement ends. So does that what you're asking? I don't want to sidestep anything.
Yes. How how do you want the saints underneath you to best support you as their pastor?
Pray for me and my family. What I tell them often, and maybe this is naivety of a young man, but I tell them often that I'll never sacrifice my family for the church, and that's just something that's non-negotiable with me. I'm not ever going to lay my family down and walk away from them for the church. Now, there are going to be times that I have to deal with a situation in the church that might interrupt our family time. But what good would it do for me to lead, hundreds of people to God and my family be lost? So praying for me and my family is a huge way that they can support me. And I would say the other biggest thing is by them being involved. I like being involved, and I expect people to be involved. We have a new family, and right off the bat, the very first service, we have to take everything in and take everything out for church. And right off the bat, the whole family, from the 8-year-old to the 30-year-old, they wanted to know, what can we help you do? And they have continued in that vein. We have fellowship on a midweek service, and we usually have a meal, and they want to know, can we cook food and can we bring it? To me, that is a huge support, because what that tells me is, again, it tells me a lot about who they are, and that shows that this is their church, that they've bought in to what we're doing. And so those two things, praying for my family and buying into the work of God, that is maybe the biggest things that I could ever ask or expect of anyone, is that they would do those things.
Brother, you mentioned a little bit about what process you went through starting a home missions work, but is there anything that you didn't mention through the process of starting that you would like to mention now?
Yeah, I would definitely tell you to have conversations with your pastor. I believe that every young person needs three types of people in their life. They need their pastor. That first and foremost, you got to have a pastor to tell you what God is saying and to give you direction into your life. Now, secondly, you need a mentor. You need someone who is investing in you, and this is even beyond what a pastor would do. Sometimes a pastor, he's one man. He's trying to shepherd a whole flock, and so you need a mentor. You need someone who is investing in you and helping you in the area of ministry that you feel God is calling you to. If you feel God is calling you to be a worship leader, and your pastor, he doesn't sing and he doesn't play, and he can teach you biblical principles, but there's some skill that has to be transmitted and transferred that a mentor is going to be able to do much more readily. So you need a mentor in your life. And thirdly, you need peers. You need people that you respect, that you admire, that you trust, that trust you, that will look you in the eye and tell you, hey man, I think you're getting out of line. And so you need those three people in your life. And I would never encourage anyone to move without the blessing of their pastor, without the instruction of their mentor, and without the encouragement of their peers. Because those three sets of people are going to know you best. They're going to really know you in every area of your life. And so if you're getting confirmation from all three of them, and it's very unlikely that you fooled all three of them. You might trick one of them, but you're not going to fool all three of them. And so that is one really big thing, is don't move beyond what your pastor has released you to do. Another thing is just trust the process. Just trust and just expect this to take time. Don't get bitter. It is very easy. There are things, especially when you've heard from God, especially when your pastor has told you, and you're expecting things to happen maybe very quickly, or maybe expecting certain things to happen. Don't allow bitterness to take root. I think bitterness has killed more preachers and more preachers' families than any of the other sins. I think bitterness, it just takes root and it gets in and it's infectious. And so don't succumb to bitterness. And I look back and I can see times that the enemy tried to bait us to fall for that, to be jealous of somebody or to be bitter towards somebody, or to an opportunity to be hurt. And so just look for any opportunity, and that goes into what I would say maybe for us was some of the most rewarding times, was look for every opportunity to serve your pastor. I never did anything for my pastor for a church expecting his blessing to start a church. Because I never felt that God was calling us to do that. I just wanted to be involved. Whatever you find to do it with excellence. Put your shoulder to the plow. Do it everything you've got, and do a good job, because it's the right thing to do. There were many times that I was asked to do a job that I had never been asked to do before, but there was a need in the church, and they needed somebody to do it right now. I'll never forget being called off the platform to teach a Sunday school class to 4 and 5-year-olds, and to me that's an honor. I think that's a great thing that they had confidence in me to pull me out of church, because a teacher was not able to do it. They got sick and they weren't able to do it. So just be available to your pastor, and expect every opportunity to be a teaching opportunity. Pharaoh taught him, don't shirk off college education. Don't shirk off your high school education. Don't feel like, well, this is not ever going to help me in ministry. This is not ever going to help me in what God is calling me to do. So every opportunity that comes, just look at it. I think every day we have the opportunity to invite the presence of God into the mundane. I can treat going to the bank as a chore. But when I go to the bank, I go through the same teller's line, and I talk to them, and I just try to get to know them. It might not be the 3 or 4 minutes that I spend with them, but I go to the bank at least once a week. And so I'm spending 4 or 5 minutes a week, at least, with this person. And I'm getting to know their name, and I'm getting to know about their family, and I just wait for an opportunity for the Holy Ghost to open the door, and then I begin to speak in their life, or I invite them to church, or I ask if I can pray for them. And so we just have to be looking for those opportunities for God to teach us, and for God to train us, and for God to mold us, and for God to use us. And again, I don't think, I know that God calls people to the foreign missions. I know that God calls us to cities that we don't live in. But I don't think that God is ever going to do that if we don't start working where we are. And so, again, my advice to every young person is trust the process. Don't be bitter. And whatever you can find to do it, and do it with excellence. Don't feel like, well, nobody's watching, and so I'm going to let this slack, or this is not an important job. You think about the day of Pentecost, right? We talk about Peter and the 11, and that's who we talk about. But they was having that in somebody else's house, right? Somebody had to have the upper room prepared. Somebody was helping keep it clean. Somebody was feeding them. They was there for 10 days. They wasn't just going without. Somebody was cleaning their bathroom. So just whatever little job you can find, do it, and do it with excellence, and be available, because you don't know the opportunities. Do and don't be embarrassed or ashamed to ask to do something. I know whenever I started that when we were getting close to time to start the church, I knew something that I would really have a hard time with, that I didn't know much about, was hospital visits. And so I asked my pastor, hey, can I go with you on some hospital visits? I just would like to see what you do and how you handle that. And that's not a big thing. That's not glamorous. That doesn't really, that's not in the spotlight. But I knew that's a skill that I needed. And so I just asked him, hey, can I go? I don't want to go in there and call anybody out of the deathbed, or I just want to go watch, and I want to learn. So just having that availability, I think, has been something that surprised us, and again, was some of the most rewarding times for us. When Sister Carpenter asked, could we find anybody to teach a Bible study to, we had no idea what this would lead to. So again, I don't want to be too long, but those are kind of 3 things that I would really, really encourage anyone for any call they feel in their life to definitely do.
I have 3 questions left. Do you mind?
Okay. I'm sorry. Do what?
I said I have 3 questions left. Do you mind?
Yeah. No. Go ahead.
Okay. What would your advice be to young ministers such as myself?
Well, maybe I should have saved my answer from that other question for this question, but serve your pastor. Be his. Do everything you can to be his confidant. I mean, he's not going to tell you all of his problems, but don't let him ever have a doubt in his mind where you stand. And no pastor expects anybody to be a yes man, but be there, be present, be in the prayer room, be at church functions, be at district events. Be there, be a good representation of your church. If your church has a particular stance on a pastoral standard, don't violate it when you go to a conference. Be a good representation of your pastorate, and do everything you can to be his ally. And again, it's not sucking up. It's not trying to be a people pleaser, but your your pastor he is your authority, and he has a lot to do with how God blesses you. I've seen men who God used them in spite of what their pastor thought. But I've always wondered how much more God would have used them if they had completely submitted. And again, there may be people who would totally disagree with that. But we all have known times when pastors have had reservations, but they didn't say no, I guess, is my example. And so their pastor didn't say no, so God didn't keep it from them, but they didn't have total blessing. But I guess that would be a really big thing for me is be supportive of your pastor and be representative of who he is and what he believes, and again, just be a worker. Whatever you can do, be a worker, and teach Bible studies, help wherever you can, be involved in the church, be a worshiper. I tell you, the people I don't care to hear people preach is the ones who they are totally disengaged in the worship service. That's just not a very good example. And when it comes to looking for people to ask to come in and preach for me, I pay attention to the worship. If they don't worship and they're not involved in the service, then what ability do they have to stand in a pulpit and instruct us? Because we're commanded to worship. So just be engaged in your services, being available again to be willing, to be eager to do anything that you know need to be done, or that they would ask you to do. Study. I used to call it pastoring my city long before we started the church. I made sure that if I knew of somebody who was sick, I went and prayed for them. If I knew somebody had a need, I did what I could to meet that need. And that might be a little different if you live in a city where you go to church. But whatever you feel God calling you to do, try to work in that. Surround yourself with people who believe in you and who are going to tell you the truth. Those are some things that I think that our generation can really do better at.
All right. Brother, my last question, because it is getting late and I don't want to keep you. I just recently had the honor to go out of state to minister, and I'm asking this in a sense. It was so different for me because I was only used to the local section. I was only used to the local people. What is your advice to the young minister that gets the opportunity to have that situation? Not only as a minister yourself, but as a pastor. How do you want to see a visiting minister handle themselves, and how, as a minister yourself, how do you believe it should be handled?
Well, I think it's a really good question. I think that a lot of situations can be avoided with a conversation, just a very candid conversation. Anytime I'm asked to go and preach for someone, I ask them what they expect, and I want to know, are you asking me to come in and preach an evangelistic crusade, or have you prepared your church to bring every unbeliever? Is that what you're asking me to do? What is it that you're expecting? Do you have a particular thing you would like me to speak on? We all know preachers that they're faith preachers, and they can preach on a Coke can, and people they're so full of faith they're ready to see the dead rise. So know what it is that you're being asked to do. Don't shear their sheep. And if they are asking you to come in and clean their house for them, then you might need to have another conversation with them in a little more depth. But they're not typically asking a man to come in and straighten their church out for them. So don't go in and clean the house for them. I think anytime someone's asked to go in to preach, especially if there's not a specific purpose given, then really it's always a good idea. And what I try to do is just exhort the church. We're trying to spur the church to do better. We would never go into a church and say, it's my opinion that, you all are slack in this area. That's just not very, it's not very beneficial, and it's not being very well received, and it's not right. And so, for me, what I always do, and again, what I would expect is, if I had a young man or anyone, that they would come and they would be, bringing exhortation, that they would be uplifting and encouraging the church. They're not coming in there to preach standards or anything like that. They're coming in there to, I'm not saying they can't talk about holiness, but you know what I mean. They're not coming to bring their pastoral standard to my church, because it might be different. We especially see that if you have an opportunity to preach outside of the organization, if you preach in another apostolic organization, there might be some pastoral differences. So that I think all of that can be handled in advance with a really good conversation, and that's what I would expect any man that has come and preached for me, and anyone I've gone and preached. We just have a conversation about, hey, this is what I'm looking for, and again, what I tell anyone, where the church is. I just recently, while I was going to GMC, had a man preach for me, and I told him kind of what our congregation was like, what to expect. I had him come and preach one week while I was here. Not that I didn't trust him, but just so that he was comfortable and the people were comfortable with him. So, yeah, a really good conversation is always a good idea. Again, that's what I always have done anytime I've been asked, and what I do for people that come and preach for me. I make sure there's clear expectations.
Man, 1 second. I want to thank you, Brother Fallin, for your time. I want to thank you for your wisdom that you imparted. In closing, do you have anything else you would like to add?
Well, Brother Fig, I just want to tell you what an honor it is, and I definitely have enjoyed talking with you. I hope that my ramblings is helpful. Anything that I could do for anyone to help them with anything or any clarification, feel free to reach out to me either on social media or Brother Fig has my contact information. We just want to be a part of making the kingdom stronger, making the kingdom better. And we love the people of God.